from the company. I didn't want to make this a public announcement until we've done the math. But
I'm telling you, bro, he actually can't do the math.
Just thinking ahead, like 5 minus 2. You can save some gas.
It's all good, man. He's getting robbed. He doesn't even know. It's all good, man.
But believe me, I know it. Believe me, I know it. You'll be held accountable.
Thank you guys for joining in. Me and Brendan's, he owes me a couple dollars. We're still trying to, you guys know the whole back and forth me and Brendan have here. But today we got, some of this a lot more important than this whole problem. PowerCity's in the house. Thank you guys for joining in. Appreciate you. And we're gonna get through everything, guys. If you guys got any questions, make sure you leave it in the comment section below. Brendan, man, what are you saying, man? How are you doing today?
Well, look, I'm doing very well, aside from the money you owe me. It's fine. We'll discuss at the next board meeting. But aside from that, we have important stuff to discuss here because we have a very interesting project, very ambitious project here called PowerCity. So Toshi, in a long vacation from the team, was kind enough to lend us some of their time to explain what's going on. So, to start off here, why don't we just first get to know you guys a little bit? Tell us a little bit about yourselves, how you got into crypto, and then how you guys got into PowerCity.
Cool.
Sure. I'm long vacation and got into crypto back in 2020, right before things started locking down throughout the world here. Right. And my background is in private banking and trust companies, working with systems design and business strategy, and was really just started learning more about Bitcoin and the basics. Sadly did not learn about Hex until much later in the year, but got in right before big payday, and just really dove deep. And that's one of my things is once we start learning something, just dive deep, go right down the rabbit hole, embrace the rabbit hole, and really just try to learn as much and absorb as much as you can. And there's just so much content online to just find out about not only just all the different crypto picks and whatnot that people like to make out there, but really what can the technology do and what can it solve, and what are the challenges that this can be applied to in the real world in practicality. And I know my frustration was always with banking, seeing traditional banking systems and the challenges that we have with those. It takes 2 or 3 days to settle a trade in some cases. It takes so much time for a deposit to hit your account, and there's a waiting period for certain things. And it's like, gosh, if we had blockchain technology, in our traditional banking systems, we wouldn't have these challenges, right? So there's like so many better ways to do things that just aren't possible in the old structures. And that what's really got me excited about DeFi in general. Just kind of building banking without the banks, without, all the monolithic infrastructure that goes behind it. And also, making it user-friendly in the process wherever we can, right? Crypto is intrinsically complex right now because we're in the infancy of crypto. So, finding new ways to try to simplify things, is my other fascination. So, Toshi.
Oh, Toshi, I think
you're muted, by the way, Toshi.
I'm sorry, I hit the button. My dog was snoring, so I hit mute.
It's okay.
He likes to snore. He's little, but man, he can shake a wall.
What kind of dog do you have?
He's a Boston Terrier.
Oh, right on. Okay.
I see.
One of the red ones, like the brown. I guess they call them. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
But so yeah, the way I got in crypto is not as. Look, when I got in, it was 2015. I got into, DJ Lethal from Limp Bizkit called me, right? He's a good friend of mine, and said, you gotta get in on some Bitcoin and Ethereum. What are you doing? And I'm like, wait, what? So, so I was like, okay, let me look this stuff up. So I pull out my computer and I'm doing some research. I'd heard of Bitcoin, obviously, but I was like, okay, you're really doing this? So I started doing some research. I got in, I bought some Bitcoin, I bought some Ethereum. I aped into that thing. And then I was also mining. I was mining Ethereum, not knowing what I was doing. All my friends were like, dude, you're insane. You're playing with nerd money. You're flushing your dollars down the toilet.
Typical, the typical response.
My friends were like, dude, you're laughing at me. They're literally sitting there like, you really seriously did that? And I'm like, yeah. And I tried getting him in. I was like, man, you gotta just do this with me. It'll be fun. Let's see what happens. And then we, I think Lethal and I invested in something called the DAO, which was, I don't know if you guys remember this thing. It was like an autonomous, I don't know, it was something that happened with an organization, and so we went in there, and then like, I don't know what happened, like about 5 hours before this thing got just wrecked, Lethal called me and said, I hear this thing's like something's going on there. It's going to go down. So we pulled out of it, pulled out of that thing and went into, I think I just put it back in like Bitcoin or something. And then the DAO went down and never came back up again. I don't know what happened. Like got hacked or shut down, or I don't know what happened, but got out of that. So I was kind of like, whoa, is this how crypto is? It was kind of scary. Like I don't know if people ever got their funds out of that thing, but I just kept my Bitcoin and Ethereum and did some mining. Like I paid like $300 or something like a year to mine ETH on like Genesis. I think it's called Genesis mining. And it did really good, man. It's just, I was like, what? It's just 300, because ETH went up, and I'd never seen that before. I didn't know what I was doing at the time.
Right.
And then, obviously I sold my bags, when it hit like 11K with Bitcoin. I was pretty happy with that move, but I really wish I would have held it. And I wish there was 100%. Things in place, right? Like loan protocols that we see now, like liquid loans. I mean, if I knew that stuff, if that stuff was there back then, I would have never sold any of those tokens, right? I would have just collateralized and did it right. But but it got me interested in crypto. Like I had some pretty good gains. And then I went back in thinking like, oh, I'm going to make money like this all the time.
Now you're excited. Now you're hyped up.
Right. A lot of different stuff, like just trying things, and it's just not how it worked. And then discovered Hex, right? And I got into Hex. I thought Richard Hart was a complete scam when I first looked him up. I was like,
same here.
I was like, what is this happening here? I kind of Googled him, which is a kind of a lame thing to do, because you Google anything, you don't really know. Right. But I did some research on Google, and I was like, oh man, this is bad. But then I was intrigued, because I was like, let me check out what he's doing. And then when I actually started watching his live streams, I'm like, people are saying this guy's a scam, but I love this guy. Like I just was judging him by my own, I'm like, I love what he's saying. I feel like he's being super honest about things, and maybe that's why people don't like him. Some of his blatant honesty, right? He doesn't care. He's not paying to play, which I love that about him, and he just speaks his mind. So, and then from there, invested into Hex, and then it segued into Pulse Chain. And because of Hex, I was able to have the funds that I wanted to SAC into Pulse, and then other things. And believe it or not, actually became part of Jesse the Pit Boss, who created a room called the Vault. From Liquid Loans. Him and I started working together, and we actually created a pool for Pulse for a sacrifice. So we did that along with a couple of the other guys from Liquid Loans, right? So we did that, really successful, went really well. But inside of this vault was just a lot of like really intelligent minds in the crypto community. I'd never been exposed to, a group of people that got together and talked crypto all day. So like I was engaged in these. I was like, man, I've never seen this kind of thing before, where we're just back and forth on conversation. So there was all these like side rooms that started being created from this group, and in some of these side groups there was a bunch of more guys that were just more condensed and just thinking about projects, thinking about crypto. We talked about creating something. One of the guys in that group was a good friend of mine I've known for over 20 years. His name's Pulse Jesus. He's one of the guys in our core group for PowerCity. And really he pulled me into this group and was like, hey, we're trying to do something here. And I came in a couple times, and next thing you know, we had a nice core group and started designing everything that PowerCity is. And it's been amazing ever since. We just every day, all day long. I don't think we sleep much anymore, and all of our teams like around the world. So it's like we got to be up to talk to these guys.
Different time zones,
right?
Yeah. Take a
Definitely.
nap. We're up again. Well, we got to do an AMA. Okay. Take a nap. So it's like I sleep like I don't know, a few hours a day here and there.
Right on. Yeah, right on. Okay,
Sporadic.
so cool. So is that kind of how Power City came together? Where it seems like a lot of people were kind of a part of the same ecosystem. People started talking. People started realizing how much potential there is with building applications here. And then it seems like there is maybe just kind of a natural melding of minds with like a similar
Yeah.
ambition. Is that how you the two? I'll ask you this question. Is that how you got involved with Power City, and what's your role with Power City? First Toshi, and then the long vacation.
You're asking me? I'm sorry.
Yeah. Is that
Um,
how things develop, and what's your role with Power City there?
well, so yeah, kind of how it developed. I guess so. It's interesting. It kind of happened in a lot of different ways. So after we did the Pulse pool. Helped the guys from Magic Carpet Ride do the Pulse X pool. Love those guys. It became part of their group. And then obviously the Magic Toshi Ride is a pool. It was named after me for the liquid loan sacrifice. And we really, got to meet a lot of cool people and become friends, and love those guys so much that we ended up bringing those guys into our core team because they understand the marketing side of things, and they have the community. It just was a really good synergy, all of us. They have great ideas as well. It's not even just about the community. These guys are super passionate about crypto, and we all invest across different platforms now. We know what's working across different chains, what's not working, what could be improved on. We relay that stuff to the developers all the time, and we're always back and forth. And our developers are super knowledgeable. I mean, these guys they're up on things too. Like a lot of the times we're like, I think I'm going to tell these guys something that they don't know, and it's like they know that plus more, and I'm like, damn.
There you go.
Right.
So maybe also for the long vacation as well. You mentioned a lot of things with you being involved in the banking system, and you obviously saw the inefficiencies, the extremely slow speed, of transaction, which whatever problems that come with that as well, and all the fees that come with that as well. Ethereum is not the only thing that has high fees. Traditional markets also the same thing. It's not as efficient as everyone thinks it is. So maybe tell us if you can tell us more about how what's Power City playing as a what's the end goal, maybe in general. If we zoom out a bit, what's Power City trying to achieve? How does that fit into the problems we're solving in the real world? And if you guys can just walk us through that would be great.
Sure. Power City as a whole is intended to be a ecosystem of applications and services built on Pulse Chain, right? So directly on Pulse Chain, not launching elsewhere and then coming later on. We're building directly on Pulse Chain to add value to both the community and developers, right? We're looking at all angles of this on how different people are trying to utilize the blockchain. And these services are all linked together into a single Power City core. That core is very similar in functionality from, say, Olympus DAO and other types of technologies like that, where you have a central treasury that is where you would stake your Watt token, and that's the native token of the Power City core. That staking is powered by a process called rebasing, and rebasing is basically an automated a compounding process that allows you to compound your staking rewards without having to manually claim and restake, right? Why is this important? Well, the core is the central place where you would be able to then participate in all of the ecosystem of apps and services that will be launched over time by Power City. We have a long, deep pipeline that working on many different apps along the way. I can just name a few. We have the core, obviously, is first and foremost. We have Pixel Park, which is an NFT marketplace that's currently in development. We have the Transformer cross-chain swap to allow funds to easily onboard onto Pulse Chain from Avalanche or Phantom networks. And we have a energy nodes as a service platform, which is intended to be a decentralized marketplace for node providers to provide or sell the network capacity to developers and dApps that need to read data off the blockchain. So pairing those two together and creating a marketplace for that. And the accelerator yield compounder, which is a compounding platform that would be able to for other protocols automatically claim and restake or leverage your tokens for expanded growth. For example, automating some of the fund strategies that the liquid loans community has created and crafted around that lending protocol. This accelerator could automate some of those. So, I mean, it's a lot of things out on that list, and we don't need to go into all those right now, but you can see that there's a long pipeline of projects that are in development in various stages of development. The core comes first, and that is where everyone would really start with the process. And as the core grows, it will then incubate and launch these other applications and continue to expand the ecosystem with more services and more apps. And each of those apps that the core launches will then feed their fees or revenue back into the core to further fund staking rewards, to buy back and burn Watt tokens, to add liquidity to Watt, and so on. So it is basically building a central core that has multiple passive income sources, kind of like a real estate investor who has multiple doors that they invest in, right? And they have now passive income where all those houses or condos or whatnot are now bringing in mailbox money every month, right? It's the same idea, but instead we're doing it in crypto, where you have a series of applications that will all be built around the core and will then share their revenue into the core, allowing the stakers to continue to earn a competitive APY. And that's one of the key things about how we're using the Olympus-style technology differently. Anyone who is familiar with Olympus DAO or any of the many forks, there were, I think, 70 or more forks that were created across multiple blockchains in the last 4 months. If you've looked into any of those, you know that it became an APY war. Who could go higher, right? And Olympus DAO launched with 100,000%. Others were millions or billions or even trillions. There was one that was so absurd it said, trust me, bro, it's high. And that was all that they would say because it was some crazy high rate, right? So, I mean, it kind of became a meme after a while. But the underlying technology is still really sound of creating a treasury that can then go to work and do things and not just sit there to try to be a reserve currency like Olympus was doing, but actually, have those funds investing in other DeFi protocols to bring yield to pay, the stakers their rebasing rewards. Invest in other projects that will then bring money back into the core to further fund those rebasing rewards. So that's kind of PowerCity in, I guess, a big nutshell.
That's
a lot of things.
Yeah. So if I can maybe try to summarize here, and you let me know where I'm going right and where I'm going wrong. It sounds like what PowerCity is trying to do here is you guys have different ideas for different decentralized applications, but it seems like you guys are a hub where you can create decentralized applications where you see a need, where you see there's demand, and that all whatever fees these different dApps accrue, that seems to all go back to the core and be redistributed in terms of staking fees to the token holders. Is that correct? Is my understanding correct?
Exactly. So the idea is, Pulse Chain is launching, and while it is a fork of Ethereum with all the tokens and contracts and the data coming over, most of those things won't work on day one unless those developers come and do something about it, right? So we have this fantastic chain with super low fees and high throughput, but nothing will be running there with the exception of the things that have already been announced, right? PulseX and Hex and Uniswap will have a front end, right? But what about all the rest of DeFi? Right. So this is kind of building from the ground up and trying to create something that can create an infrastructure of DeFi and services on Pulse Chain that can then kind of build into broader services that can be leveraged by other third-party projects. Right. If you want to launch a project on the chain, you're going to need data, right? You're going to need to access the data. Either you're going to have to go and tool together your own server and figure out how to configure all the software and whatnot to run your own node, or you can come to energy nodes and buy the capacity you need and focus more on building your dApp, right? So that infrastructure is what will help all of Pulse Chain succeed. Right. And we're trying to support the community here. These are the things that we want to be able to do on chain. We know that there's other people who want to do these things on chain. We're not willing to wait for the big names and the big folks to finally figure out what Pulse Chain is all about. We think the community needs to step up and build these things and provide these services. And we know that we can do it with that community in mind. We're not backed by VCs. We're not backed by, big bank money or anything like that. We are part of the community. We are the community, and we're building these things for everyone to be able to leverage and enjoy.
Okay,
100%.
Now, if I could share my screen here for a moment, I have your light paper pulled up. So this seems to be the main elements of PowerCity thus far. So we have the PowerCity core, Pixel Park, Accelerator, Transformer Bridge, NRG nodes, and then PowerCity Metaverse. But if we could just maybe briefly summarize what exactly the PowerCity core itself is all about, how would you go about summarizing the PowerCity core?
So the core is the central staking platform, right?
Okay.
It's a central staking platform where the Watt token can be staked. It is backed by a treasury of assets that are collected by the core. So you would come to the core to buy Watt, right? And the core will then, as the treasury grows, it will then utilize those assets to invest elsewhere or build the rest of this ecosystem. So the Watt token is basically a representation of that treasury and all of its investments that treasury makes.
Interesting. Okay. And let's talk about. Yeah. Sorry. Go on.
Yeah, no, just a quick question, I guess, because you definitely you referenced the Olympus DAO a lot, and I'm assuming this is more of a like a liquidity or protocol owned liquidity or treasury where a lot of these fees just pool into this one treasury, and now we're using that for different, we're investing somewhere, or you're providing liquidity in another place or something like that. Is that what the I guess that's the first question. The second question is, what did you I guess inherit from or got inspired from Olympus DAO, and you actually brought in and you made better? Basically, I think those two are related in one way, shape, or form, right?
Definitely. And, our core is not a direct fork, but it's inspired by a lot of the same functionality. So first off is the staking and the rebasing rewards and how that process works, right? So automatic compounding, that was something we definitely wanted, to take from that, from how Olympus did it. The next was just like you said, protocol owned liquidity, right? Have the protocol own its own liquidity so that it doesn't have to continually give away tokens to other people, so that it can make sure that there's money available in the decentralized exchanges to trade in and out of the Watt token. Instead of the protocol will own it, it will earn the fees from all those trades. So whoever's staking will then have their rewards continue due to the trading fees and also due to any other DeFi investments that the treasury makes, right? So having the treasury control it means now that you're not giving away those tokens to the liquidity providers, you're giving it to the stakers, right? Now the treasury will grow through another process that we loved about Olympus DAO, which is bonding. Bonding is basically just the way that the protocol can sell you Watt tokens, right? So you want Watt tokens, you can then sell those to the protocol. They will buy it from you for a discounted rate of Watt. So maybe on the market price of Watt is $1. I'm making this up, of course, is $1. And when you go to bond, maybe you'll get it 80 cents on the dollar, right? So you're getting a discount. You're getting more Watt because now you're selling an asset that the protocol needs, that the treasury wants. And it can then hold that and either add it to liquidity or go and reinvest it someplace else. And that value, right, as it grows, as more things are bonded into the treasury, right, that value supports continued rebasing and staking rewards, right? So it's a central treasury, kind of like a central bank of sorts. And as there's more participation, right, the treasury can then fund not only the staking rewards, but the expansion. And this is one of the key differences that we wanted to bring to Olympus style technology, this type of technology, right? Instead of the crazy high APYs, you start with something that's smaller, that's lower, that's sustainable, but still competitive in DeFi, right? Anything, between 20% APY and 2000% APY is massive from, any other comparison, right? If you look at Hex, they're getting anywhere between, 12 or 15 to 40, depending on how long you're staking, right? So if you can have staking rewards that are competitive with that and other things out there, meaning that you then have what's called an infinite runway, because you're not inflating the tokens way too quickly, you're not giving them away too quickly, you don't create these whales overnight that are selling, instantly early in the protocol. Instead, you're creating an ecosystem here that you can participate in, that will then invest in other things that will keep bringing new value into the treasury so that those rebasing staking rewards can continue indefinitely.
Right.
Interesting. Now, why would anyone sell their Watt tokens to the treasury at a discount?
Well, you would bond with Pulse. So maybe you bring in Pulse and you're selling your Pulse to the treasury so you get a discounted rate on Watt. So if Watt's $1, right? Instead of paying $1 of Pulse for 1 Watt, you would be paying 80 cents worth of Pulse for 1 Watt in that example.
I see. Thank you for the clarification. Okay, so
yeah.
I misunderstood. So what I understood was that you could sell your Watt token to the treasury for a discount, but that's not the case. You're suggesting that you can take some other token, and instead of buying Watt on the open market for a 1-to-1 ratio, whatever it may be, you can come to the treasury and the treasury will sell you Watt tokens for a discount, and then the treasury supposedly takes those tokens and either reinvests it, that kind of thing. Is that correct?
Exactly.
It would be a very bad deal if you're selling it there for
That's why I wanted to clarify. Yeah, and that was a great question. Thank you for interrupting me. By the way, that was a great question.
Appreciate it.
Oh wow. So this is essentially you're kind of I don't want to poorly frame this, but you're basically, if you're getting involved in PowerCity, investing in a treasury, investing in a fund that builds decentralized applications and essentially has a revenue sharing model. Is that kind of how you would describe PowerCity?
Yeah, think of it as a DeFi incubator of sorts, right? And the longer you stake, the more you get that compounding effect, right? And the more other dApps are launched, right? The more income sources that treasury has. We can see this as kind of like a flywheel, right? You spin it up and it just keeps going on its own, right? Just taking in that energy and just further fueling those rebasing rewards for hopefully forever, right? Whereas as long as Pulse Chain runs.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So can we delve into the Watt token a bit here? So what exactly are the tokenomics of the Watt token? Is it inflationary, deflationary? What are the staking rewards? Let's talk about the Watt token here.
Is it going to $1 billion?
Sure,
what are you thinking? What are your projections here?
Can't say exactly how many will exist on day one. We do have a sacrifice phase that is launching soon, so we can talk about that separately. But I know there were some questions around, will there be trillions of coins for the core, or how is that going to be working? It is an inflationary token. So to answer your question, it is inflationary, not deflationary, right? So unlike other things that we know are launching on Pulse Chain, it is a little bit different. So it's designed to start with a smaller number of coins, and as the rebasing and those staking rewards are paid out, the token continues to inflate. So those new rewards that you're earning while you're staked are minted Watt tokens that are given. They're being backed by the increased value of the treasury. So as the treasury value increases, more rewards can be minted and given to stakers. Okay. So as long as that is increasing, right, and this is why we have the ecosystem and the need to create these other dApps that are then linked to the core, is you are no longer then just tied to bringing in new bodies in the door, right? We don't want to create a pyramid. We're not creating a Ponzi. We are creating, an ecosystem of dApps that will, fuel those staking rewards indefinitely.
Right.
I see.
So I just have a quick question, I guess, about I think all of that ties together, but governance and because there's a lot of questions that come up when the protocol starts to own the liquidity, at least. Because so this is something we always talk about here. This is something you can obviously enlighten us about as well, from what your perspective is on the thing that a lot of people would actually start to speak about is how we can indirectly have some sort of influence on the chain or the protocol or the rewards and all that. So with that protocol owned liquidity, we understand we have some sort of I would say quote unquote control over rewards, or where we go invest, where we provide the most liquidity to. Those are obviously choices that would come from the team 100%. Now, in terms of people that hold the Watt token or that specifically, what kind of governance do we have there? And in terms of the control you would have, because it's a protocol owned liquidity, how do you answer the question in terms of how, specifically how much control do we have over that? So what can the community say or vote on, or what can't they do vote on?
Correct. So we haven't announced the details of our governance model yet. That is something that we will be fleshing out over time, right? We have some very interesting ideas on how to build participation in the protocol. The learning from some of the hits and misses that we've seen recently with some of the other DAOs, and how their voting events work or don't work, their timeliness and how quickly they can respond to issues and changes and so on. So we are taking a lot of notes from what's going on out there and trying to craft what we feel is a balanced solution to governance. But at this point, not ready to really announce those details.
Perfect. Yeah, because that's what we see a lot as well. Because at least to get that's what I believe in. At least to get a protocol to a point where it's self-sufficient and running smoothly, we need someone to grab our hands to get us there, not to just right away give the full governance, to the actual community. So yeah, I guess we would be very, very interested to hear how what you have in mind specifically.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and maybe just to wrap up on the inflationary point as well, because that was very interesting. To clarify, so is the inflation, rather than just being some arbitrary number, more so tied to the amount of value backed in the treasury? So what if the team decides to invest some of the earnings of the treasury? Would the staking rewards go down? Is it variable, the staking rewards? How exactly does that work?
So by definition, the investment bucket or pool would have to be separate from the treasury pool because of the security and protections around those assets. The treasury is purely controlled by the protocol. It's hands off, right? The protocol will automatically balance and determine when it needs to bond versus when it will use a built-in automated market maker. When you want to buy a Watt from it, it will automatically balance that out to get the right kind of slippage and also manage the right balance of liquidity. So it's internal mechanisms that are, that core treasury piece is meant to be kind of hands off. The DeFi as a service kind of investing piece is where that's where management is required, right? Because you have to direct it to the different investments, and that would still be technically owned and part of the treasury. It's just being put to work, right? So if it's staking a stable coin, maybe if we bond with, I'm just going to make this up again, we bond with loan tokens, right? So we sell Watt in exchange for a loan so that the treasury can build up a collection of loan tokens that we then go to liquid loans and stake that in their staking pool to earn Pulse and USDL as fees, right? And those fees would then be reaped and brought back into the treasury. that's one way that can be put to work. So as the Treasury grows in value and these things are brought back into the Treasury, then those the additional staking rewards can be minted and awarded to the users. And it can also be balanced so that if the Treasury goes up by $1, you're not necessarily always minting $1 worth of staking. Maybe you're minting 80 cents worth of staking rewards instead. So you're going more conservative, thinking long-term, sustainable, right? Not overinflating too quickly, but still allowing people to participate in the success of the protocol through, their long-term staking.
Very interesting. So Messon's power went off. I'll be back shortly. Now, so is the Treasury simply a mechanism to back the staking rewards, or is there some greater utility towards the Treasury? Like, will the Treasury funds be used for stuff? Can you comment on that?
So this is where the extensibility of the protocol comes in, right? We have a core that we're going to be starting with, right? So the core has a core set of contracts that allow for staking, bonding, the swapping and whatnot. But then it can be extended to have additional monetary policies written around it, to the point where kind of getting ahead of ourselves here, but it could be maybe extending lines of credit to other dApps in our ecosystem and acting more as a central bank between those applications. So not to get too complicated with it, it is something that is being designed to be expandable without having to go and rip the guts out every time you want to add functionality. And that way, that central core of the staking functionality, never gets mucked around with as new capabilities are added to the core.
Man, this is super interesting. I'm getting excited here. You guys are essentially building a cryptocurrency bank. Like with different more or less, right?
You're tiptoeing here, man. You're tiptoeing.
I know there's certain kinds of framing you guys want to avoid, but as someone who's not a part of the team, I can kind of say some stuff, But this does seem like this is getting me excited, man. So I don't want to get too technical here. I think the Russians are attacking Messon as we speak.
I don't even know. I've been here for 10 years, man. 10 years, and I literally in the middle of everything just shut off out of nowhere.
Wow.
Turned back on. Yeah. So I don't
you
know.
Need more power. You need more power, baby.
We definitely do need more power, man.
Exactly.
But,
hey, listen, I sent you guys, I don't know if you guys can access your Discord, but I sent you a couple images of the Watt token.
Okay.
I see.
If you want to showcase them.
Yeah. We'll definitely check it out here.
Let me see here.
Perfect. So yeah, no, maybe while Brendan is
in the DMs or okay, I see. You're cool with showing. Okay, I'll show it in a second. Okay.
The Russians got messing. Oh man, people are just really going off in the chat.
Yeah, so I'll share my screen for a second. We can.
And here I thought it was Brandon trying to get his $5 back, man. Shut you down. You gotta
man,
it's retaliation.
He has money on me, man. Put up some money.
Hey man, I'm trying to sack you. I need to build up some dry powder, man, and you're causing problems. Okay, so is this the logo we're going so far with the Watt token?
Yeah,
right.
Really nice.
That's beautiful. And so, are we a one token model here? Just to clarify things. Like there's just a Watt token.
The flip side. So if you read around the edge, it's the PowerCity Watt token. It just one side has the W, the other side has the PowerCity.
I see. So this is the logo, and this is the token logo. Right. Okay, man, that's gorgeous.
Correct. I mean, right now the focus is on the core and the the Watt token as additional apps and services are launched. If having their own token makes sense and adds value to that process, then there might be additional tokens down the road. For example, for the Transformer cross-chain swap, we'll have our own bridging token, right, that will bridge through. It's not designed for people to go invest in. It's not designed with any kind of game theory around it. It's just its utility is to bring value from one chain to the other. So, it's just an example of how there may be additional tokens out there, but really the core participation, pun intended, is really through Watt and staking that in the PowerCity core.
Oh, okay. And let's say there were some tokens down the road. And let's talk in a theoretical space right now. Could those tokens theoretically be airdropped to Watt token holders? How has there been any thought given to that, or would there be a SAC raise, or would that token kind of determine how they distribute the coin, or is there any thought given to maybe rewarding PowerCity Watt token holders?
So without getting into details, a lot of thought has been put into that. A couple ways to do that. One thing I can say that we would not be doing is future sacrifices, right? We're doing one sacrifice for the launch of the core, and it's really, it's a political statement to support a free market, right? To have options in the market, to be able to, choose what you want to invest in, how you want to invest in, and what do you want to participate and use on the chain, right? Now, as that grows, right, because the whole point is that the core will then incubate these other applications and launch those services over time. Participation in the core is what will then provide other opportunities down the road. Sorry, doing a little bit of a tap dance because we don't want to set any expectations, right? But definitely, the key play is really to stake Watt, and from there, then we can expand the community.
Okay. Now, for the sake of the people, is it theoretically possible that Watt token stakers could receive additional tokens, theoretically, in a thought experiment kind of way?
In a purely thought experimental way, I can see different scenarios where that could potentially happen with different types of things or partnerships or whatnot, right?
Okay.
Obviously we're not promising anything, right? What we're talking about is building a large ecosystem of our dApps, right? The PowerCity apps are all designed to be very tightly intertwined and work very closely with each other. But there are opportunities, down the road for other protocols to find ways to partner with PowerCity and vice versa. Things that perhaps could be the bonding as a service that Olympus Pro does, allowing other protocols to use the bonding functionality to raise their own liquidity and own their own liquidity, as a service that can be provided. I think Toshi can really walk us through some amazing things that are coming down the line for NFTs and the Pixel Park NFT marketplace that are great ways to partner with other groups out there. Again, bringing more value into the core so people can continue staking, hopefully indefinitely.
There we go, man. I love how well spoken you are, and how you dodged a couple of good, very good bullets here, but it's actually perfect. I actually love to see it. You guys are look, I'll be very honest. It's been 42 minutes, and there's a lot on your plate, right? Yeah. There's definitely a lot on your plate, and we can tell that your expectations or what you're aiming for is pretty, you're trying to really take over. So that's actually amazing to see. With all of that, maybe right before we get to the whole NFT marketplace, I think that's, we really got to talk about that in detail. There's a lot of things right now. What's going to be the first thing we're looking for? With Pulse Chain coming up, sometime soon here. We don't know exactly when it's going to come up live, I assume. What's the biggest aspect of PowerCity is going to be running first? And what people can kind of look forward to?
It's going to be our...
Sure, obviously with the core.
Yeah.
The core, right?
Yeah.
So
go ahead. You go.
Okay, go ahead.
The internet.
Anyway,
we are passionate and we are excited about what we're building. You see, like we're just brimming over the edge here to get it out. Yes, the core is first, and then Pixel Park and the Transformer cross-chain swap are equally in development. So there's 3 products in development right now. The core is the first thing. Hopefully the others will follow close behind or at the same time, theoretically. There's a lot of unknowns as to when Pulse Chain will launch, and that will determine how much time is available for our code to be wrapped up, tested, audited, and then gone through public testnet and whatnot to to get it out there. So the exact timing is very challenging, but you can see that we have it in the pipeline, and the longer it takes for Pulse Chain to launch, well, that just means we can get more done and ready, closer to when it goes live, right?
Perfect. 100%. So
you guys
Pixel, go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
This guy loves to cut me off, man. I don't know if you guys noticed or not yet, man. I don't know if anyone noticed this. I need my $5, man. Go ahead.
Oh, we'll discuss this later. But look, man, because you brought up some great questions. I really want to talk about Pixel Park here. Before we do, I do have one question on my mind here. So it seems like you guys must have like an army of developers. I don't know how you guys are finding the people to build out this massive ecosystem, but I'm looking forward to seeing it. Now, it clearly seems that you guys are a protocol that's wanting to build, obviously, many different applications here. But I'm curious because we are building on Pulse Chain. A lot of people in this ecosystem are very used to Hex, the immutability of Hex, and people see that as a benefit, the immutability of it. Are there any elements of the PowerCity protocol that are immutable? I know you guys are very different from Hex, and you guys are obviously focused on building an innovation, so it's kind of hard to really have a ton of immutable elements. But are there any immutable elements of the PowerCity protocol?
It's a little hard to get into now since things are still in development. When people ask about admin keys and immutable elements, it depends on what you're trying to accomplish on chain. It depends on how complex it is, how extensible you want it to be, meaning that you can continue to build it and add functionality over time. And if you look at Uniswap, it's a great example of, every time they implemented a new version, it was running in parallel, right? Because they couldn't shut down the old one. And that's why we still have a massive amount of liquidity on Uniswap v2 as well as Uniswap v3, right? And when time comes around for v4, that'll be another set of challenges down that road, right? So there are pros and cons to immutability, and there, I think, are places where it makes a lot of sense, and there are other places where it can lock you into something that doesn't necessarily address every possible eventuality or impossible eventuality that would have to be thought of it in advance before you burn those keys. That's one of the most complex parts of all of this, and why it took so long for Hex to be developed, right? The running joke is always 4 weeks. It's 4 weeks. It's four weeks, right? But that's because you have to think of everything that could possibly ever occur. Otherwise, that black swan event will just wreck your protocol, and you have no way of fixing it, right? So it's a matter of balancing of that and the ability to expand and add functionality later on.
Right.
So as we get closer to launch and as these things are really nailed down through audits and whatnot, we'll be able to share some more of those details and get into what could be locked down, or what will be what portions of it are protected by multiple signature wallets and other protections and security to make it as solid as possible.
Right. Okay. No, thank you for that answer. That makes a lot of sense, right? Like, with you guys being so innovative, certain things that might be good for different protocols might detract from this protocol, which is trying to do something completely different. So, no, that makes sense. I appreciate that question. No, so Messon, do you want to say anything so I can interrupt you?
No, it's all good. I've been waiting to hear about Pixel Park, man. I feel like there's a lot behind this. So maybe if you guys can kind of explain to us what's happening there, and why do people, why should people be excited for it, basically?
Sure. So, I mean, look, we all know that the ERC20s are getting copied over on Pulse Chain. This is which includes NFTs, right? So this is a unique opportunity that we haven't seen before in the NFT space, and we all know about the unforgiving fees of Ethereum, right? So when it comes to NFTs, right, we know that the gas fees are ridiculous. People are paying more for things than they really should, sometimes just because of gas fees, right? So since we know the NFTs are going to be copied over to Pulse Chain, everything that's on Ethereum, I mean, we really believe, our team believes, that Pulse Chain is going to enrich the NFT owners completely. Everybody that owns NFTs on Ethereum are going to now have a copy. So we did a clone. We built a clone of OpenSea because OpenSea, you can't fork it, right? So it's a clone of OpenSea with some additional features that we felt were going to be really beneficial to Pulse Chain, because we do feel that the NFT market is going to come over from Ethereum and be like, okay, let's get this thing going, because we're going to be able to trade NFTs. The gas fees are low. Look at all these copies. Plus, there's going to be a new artist coming on the Pulse Chain platform. I think NFTs are going to Pulse Chain will redefine how NFTs are traded. I think it's going to explode the market. We're very bullish on it. So we did a clone of OpenSea with some additional features, like I said. One of them being a supercharged liquidity mechanism, where you can actually, because with NFTs, sometimes there's a lack of liquidity, right, within the NFTs. So you can actually use your NFT that you own, give it to Pixel Park, and in return get tokens. You can get, so if you had crypto punks, you would in return get punk tokens, and you'd be able to take those punk tokens and purchase another punk within that same collection, which a lot of people like to be, they want to do that. They can't do that on OpenSea. So we want to add that function in phase 1, in addition to the clone of OpenSea. So you'll see that liquidity, NFT liquidity, that supercharged liquidity function in NFTX. I don't know if you guys are familiar, but they have that. So that'll exist. Phase 2, we're going to get into the staking mechanism of Pixel Park and being able to stake NFTs in unique ways. So we're mapping that out now, and it will be a phase 2 rollout. But we're excited about this function and adding it, because we know, I mean, look, I come from an artist background. I've been an artist my whole life, not just visual, but also musician. So, I was a songwriter and a music producer. I wrote for Linkin Park and Limp Bizkit and a bunch of other bands.
Are we just gonna drop that like it's nothing, man?
That's awesome, man.
That's big, man. That's amazing.
I sing a little bit too. I recorded for Sony. I'm in, if you want to hear me, I sing in Gran Turismo GT6.
Really? There you go.
That's me in there. I sing like a few songs in that.
We'll definitely check it out.
A bunch of other video game stuff and all that cool junk. But so I know a lot of people in the entertainment industry, a lot of artists as well. So we are bringing a group of really talented artists to Pixel Park, and also musicians as well. Like DJ Lethal is one of the guys that he's got some gems that we could really do something with on Pixel Park. We're trying to work through some of those details. So there's the whole artist side of it, right? So the digital artwork side, which is really cool. We love it. And if you see our commercial, you'll see a lot of the live artworks being drawn. I don't know if you guys saw the Pixel Park commercial, but we did that.
Right.
Released that a few weeks ago. But there's a whole other side to it, right? Which is the use case NFTs. Like you look at things like Hedron, encapsulated hex stakes, and other types of nodes, right? Node NFTs.
Right.
That you can utilize, right, in the NFT space. We love this, and we want to create staking features for these certain type of use case NFTs. We are going to be dropping a pretty big bomb here pretty soon. We're finalizing a contract with the largest tiny home manufacturer in the United States. And they are really excited about Pixel Park and PowerCity and what we're doing. And we will be offering tangible tiny home NFTs on Pixel Park. So you literally, for example, I mean, think about this. You can take your Pulse, bring it to Liquid Loans, collateralize your Pulse, get a loan in the form of USDL, and take that USDL over to Pixel Park and purchase an actual tiny home, and it's in the form of an NFT, but it's a tangible home that you would actually own. And when you decide you can trade it back and forth, but when you decide you want to build it and get it built and have it shipped, you would send that NFT into the manufacturer, and then they would start that build. They have, we're going to collect.
Wow.
That is amazing. That is super, super cool.
It's a big deal. This company has over 500,000 followers on social media.
Right.
They love what we're doing. They're completely excited. And in fact, we had asked them to, in addition to create a 3D rendered version of the tiny home that can be used as a metaverse asset.
Yeah.
And they were super excited about that, and actually have created it, and it's unbelievable. So we're going to give that as an additional bonus to the initial buyers. So the initial buyers of the tiny home will actually get this additional NFT metaverse asset as well, which is a 3D render of it. So you can plop it down. So once the metaverse hits, which PowerCity eventually we're going to release our metaverse, you could plop that tiny house down in VR and go
see what I've done.
Right.
So just to get this straight, look, man, every time we talk about NFTs, I get extremely excited, right? We used to get a lot of hate for saying those things, before. But we really always used to say that NFTs are actually the market was specifically with crypto chose NFTs. So far, we got DeFi, we got a decentralized file sharing, we got whatever you want, with Aave and Solana and all that. But the market liked NFTs the most, and that's what the market wanted. And every project, in my opinion, that has NFTs or protocol, that has NFTs and the whole metaverse, direction added as a bullet point on the goals we're trying to achieve, I really think that's adding a lot to the longevity of the protocol. And I think it's gonna add the whole and Brendan is definitely smiling here, but I think that's really gonna add so much to the protocol that a lot of people will start flocking in more and more. And the fact that initially it was just an image, right? Now, we got protocols that, you can stake your NFT and you get a bonus. There's some sort of incentive. If you own the NFT, you can stake it as well. Now, if you have $1,000, and there's the typical reward if you want to stake your money, just because you got this NFT, you can put in, a couple more NFTs and, earn, boost your earnings. Now, with you guys as well, you're adding in, a whole nother aspect to it as well, where you can actually have some sort of a physical item that comes with that, where you can utilize in the metaverse as well. I love it, man. I'm honestly very, very impressed, to be honest.
Thanks, man. Imagine this down the line where, certain groups of crypto investors could collateralize their pulse, right? And purchase tiny homes in a group, right? And you could take those group of tiny homes and purchase a piece of land, physical land, and put those tiny homes down on that land and create a crypto community, create some type of timeshare. I even had some people ask me, like, hey, if we started a group and created a group that we could go in, like, each own a little piece and do like a fractional purchase. I mean, it's going to be up to the community to decide how they want to roll this thing out. But I see so many cool creative ways to do this, and I'm really excited about it. I know the team is. I know that the manufacturer is really excited about it, because we're bringing a whole new way to do this, and it's gonna be pretty well.
Someone said here in the comments, basically you're becoming a tiny house real estate agent on Pixel Park. So you guys gotta get ready, man.
Real estate agent.
That's awesome. And what's super exciting is that this is just the first iteration, right? Like we saw DeFi summer in 2020, for those who've been around, where we saw kind of the first wave of DeFi projects, Aave, different swaps, and we saw how DeFi evolved. We saw the coming of Olympus DAO and all these different derivatives of DeFi, and now we're seeing the same thing happen with NFTs. Where NFTs at first they were just JPEGs, but now we're seeing actual utility. I mean, you're talking about being able to buy a physical tiny home with these NFTs, and this is just the beginning. I mean,
it's gonna be nuts. Like, if you think, artwork kind of set the stage, and now people are just understanding the concept of NFTs and realizing that, wait, there's all kind of applications that we can use this with. All the way down to people could do some type of marriage license, or there's all kinds of weird things you could do, right? Medical records could be
your bus ticket is an NFT.
Yeah, bus pass or something like that. Yeah, cars. I'm sure somebody will eventually think of a cool way to do this with vehicles, right? You probably have to be a dealer at that point, but because you couldn't really hold an NFT. I was actually talking about this with Pulse Jesus. How do you hold an NFT? But if the dealers sells the car, if somebody purchases the NFT, then you have to deal with that whole thing. But these things will get worked out, and we'll start to see those things come to fruition, I think. And PowerCity and Pixel Park, we are dug deep into this, and we're excited about what we're working out with the tiny home thing. It's only the beginning,
Right.
so we think we're going to bring a lot of adoption from off-chain into Pixel Park that way as well, and bring that pulse chain adoption. That's what we're geared towards, is really bringing it in, and then having these, like LV was discussing, the core. I mean, like in a nutshell, really, it's all of our platforms surrounding the core and feeding the core, which these other like Olympus DAOs and other, we feel that they didn't quite have that put together right all the way, and just didn't have anything at all. It's just all about the APY, and weren't thinking some of these things through. So we feel like that's what we're attacking, and making sure that we make all those improvements, and we're doing this our way.
That's a super interesting point you brought up. I want to expand on. Like, if we look at the space today when it comes to the NFTs, DeFi, all these different protocols, they're little islands, right? But what PowerCity is trying to achieve here is a cooperative ecosystem that seems to help itself, and that seems to be extremely valuable. I mean, I know, just speaking on the media side of things, as being a YouTuber, producing content with other creators helps everyone. It helps achieve growth, which can just as easily be applied to crypto and to DeFi. So you guys are creating a kind of cooperative ecosystem here that, if I'm understanding, should hopefully help each other grow and build.
You're exactly right, Brandon. And in fact, we're open to other protocols and platforms on Pulse Chain that are maybe there's some synergy there with maybe they offer NFTs, or they're interested in finding a way to collaborate with PowerCity and find a way that we can synergistically work together. We're open to that, and we encourage those groups to reach out to us. We've reached out to some as well. We're talking to a few. So yeah, it's about bringing the community together, bringing the protocol together. We want to see adoption happen, and we want this thing to rock.
Right. Interoperability. That's what crypto is all about. Definitely.
Yeah. For example, you guys are building on a front end with liquid loans. Am I correct?
Correct.
So, correct. So the accelerator yield compounder will include a custom front end of liquid loans protocol that will allow you to automate some of these compounding strategies that the community has come up with. So you can leverage your pulse to build your pulse position, or you can put USDL in the stability pool to earn more loan tokens and so on. There's a lot of strategies by a lot of different names that community has been posting and promoting, which we love, right? These are great ways to put your money to work. We were talking earlier about how I got into crypto, and one of it was it was all part of a personal finance journey for myself. About I wanted to put every dollar to work, right? If there was a dollar sitting around on the couch, watching TV, eating Cheetos all day, then that was a lazy dollar, right? Every dollar needed to get out there, get a job, and go bring more dollars back, right? So it was trying to find ways to leverage everything as intelligently and interconnected as possible to create a personal finance plan that has every aspect of it covered. And this is kind of like a crypto version of that, right? So we're covering so many different bases where, if you have Pulse from Pulse Sacrifice and you want to be able to put that into the accelerator, and you want to compound it using a variation of the Haunted strategy, right? You can do that. If you want to turn around and take the PulseX that you got from your PulseX sacrifice, and you want to be able to put that into the single asset staking pool and be able to compound that into other things, right? It could be expanded to do that. If you want to provide Ethereum Hex and Pulse Chain Hex liquidity, and to farm the yield farming reward token from PulseX, and you want to be able to compound that, it should be able to do that, right? So, finding all these different ways to be able to put your funds and your crypto to use. And it's open-ended. It depends on what other protocols come and to Pulse Chain and expand the Pulse Chain. And as those different strategies, come to light, new capabilities can be added to Accelerator. So, when you were talking about interoperability, that it all comes together to how we're linking the dApps, right? The nodes as a service can have the node represented as an NFT, right? That you can resell or trade on Pixel Park Marketplace. And if you want to compound your nodes, a la Strong Block, to get more nodes so you can build your passive income engine, maybe you take that NFT into Accelerator, stake it in the Accelerator so that it will then claim the node rewards to go build new nodes. So now you're bringing in more node rewards on a monthly basis, right? So all these applications working together hand in hand throughout this ecosystem, and all connected by the core, right? So you can see the possibilities
through
there.
PowerCity.
Yeah, everything will also feed
exactly.
So if other people are doing that same function with NFTs and doing these platforms will feed back into the core. So if you're in the core, you get to reap those benefits as well.
Wow,
awesome, man. Okay, and on a personal point as well, there's something I wanted to have pick your brain about. Hopefully, to get a better understanding. So, is there a significant difference between a node and a validator? Are they interchangeable terms?
Think of it as a Venn diagram where you have a circle within a circle, right? Nodes are the servers that help run the blockchain, right? And now a validator is a specialized version of a node that is authorized to write new data to the blockchain. So when you go to execute a transaction, right, the validator is the one that's actually completing the transaction and writing the data to the blockchain. And only the validators can do that, right? Now, the other nodes are historical data nodes, and there's different flavors of those, but basically they're designed to serve up data for other services to consume. And it keeps a current copy of the blockchain. So it's not doing the writing of the blocks, but it is reading and keeping an updated current copy of the blocks so that all these other things can read it. Like if you go to MetaMask and you look at your wallet and you want to see your balance of Ethereum in your wallet, MetaMask is going to a node that's hosted by Infura that is actually reading the Ethereum blockchain and getting that information for you to display on the MetaMask screen, right? So we want to be able to do the same thing for Pulse Chain. And also the secondary use for the nodes is for securing the network, right? They're not actually writing the data, but the more nodes you have that have a full copy of the blockchain means more and more servers would have to be hacked and altered in some way to falsify records on the blockchain. So if you have 3 servers, well, okay, you just have to hack 2 of them, right? If you have 300,000 servers, you have to hack at more than half of those, right? So the more servers that have a copy of the data across the network, the more secure it is, right? The healthier the blockchain is. And if you remember last year for Ethereum, there was an EIP update made where there was a temporary kind of schism between the network where it was kind of split, where some of the nodes weren't updated with the latest software, and they were running an older version of Ethereum, and some other nodes were running the newer version of the Ethereum. And we saw hash rates go crazy and response times, transaction rates went crazy. And that was the fracturing in the network because those nodes were not healthy, current, well-maintained nodes. So it's a critical infrastructure of the blockchain, and finding ways to encourage people to help support the blockchain by monetizing it and creating rewards to say, okay, if you help build the node and put it for sale, we pair you with the devs who need it to run their dApps, right? So that your node can then earn an income. And now you have a passive income source, right? So it's really trying to encourage people to support the blockchain and support the community.
Right. Super interesting. So you would essentially help bring kind of the client to the manufacturer in the sense where, like, if anyone has an expertise creating nodes, you can help them basically sell that service to whoever needs it. Is that kind of the idea?
Or if you don't have the expertise to wrench together your own hardware and configure the software and whatnot, a node service that will host them in data centers with 100% uptime and fully synchronized and updated software for you that you can then pay to participate in. So you would buy a sliver of a node or a share of a node or pool of nodes, and that pool would be then put on this marketplace for sale for developers to access and buy capacity from. And, so by the pairing of the two, you would then participate in the income earned or generated by those node servers.
Right. So with that being said, where do, I guess, obviously transactions get settled on Pulse Chain? That's the basic, that's the consensus where all transactions basically are settled on it. If, let's say, a new project comes in, do they have to, are they retrieving data from you guys, or are they building using your kind of, your protocol? Like, how do new projects come in and interact with PowerCity?
I mean, there will be many ways to do that, and it really depends on what they need from PowerCity. If they want to own their own liquidity, then they can utilize bonding as a service to have the ability for their users to come to PowerCity and buy their token, right, through the bonding protocol that would then allow them to build up their treasury for their project, right? But they're just coming through our contracts as a service, so they don't have to go and build it out themselves, right? That's one way to do it. Another would be for the NFT side. You want to launch a collection of NFTs, or you want to launch a collection of NFTs that have specific functionality, and you want that functionality to maybe have a use elsewhere in the ecosystem, right? We can work with people to do that, or to implement strategies on the accelerator, right? They have a new DeFi protocol where they have a staking function that someone could benefit from if they were to use a compounder. They could come to us and say, hey, let's build a strategy for the XYZ token to do whatever, and we can partner together. So lots of ideas. I'm brimming with ideas, and you can imagine, like, when we have idea sessions with our team, we have 14 people on the team, plus we have some other developer groups all working at once. I mean, our whiteboard sessions are just insane, and is why it is such a large project, because their Pulse Chain needs so much early on, right? And we are just passionate about getting it out there. And now, we know it's not all going to happen at once. We are very focused on the core, right? That is the primary focus of the team. We then have the rest of the pipeline that comes behind it. And the pipeline is full of then the Transformer cross-chain swap and Pixel Park, the NFT marketplace. And then behind that is the accelerator yield compounder. Behind that is the energy nodes. Behind that is Metaverse, 3D experience. And so on. So we're large enough of a team to have people kind of already working on the ideation of some of these things before we're even ready to bring in developers to start actually, coding things, so that we can have that deep pipeline. And when we're ready to start coding, we already have a fully fleshed idea with requirements and designs and whatnot already laid out. So it's a big plan, but there's a lot going on at once. And hopefully, you can see that a lot of value can be brought to the chain through PowerCity.
And we can definitely see that. Obviously, I think the more knowledge we see, and the more you've been involved in the traditional markets, we're seeing how the real world is lacking a lot of efficiency and all that. You come in here in crypto and you're like, this is not only just this, it's this and this and that, and I can use this to grow DeFi so much more. I can do have better interest rates in every way, shape, or form, and cut down on lost time and all that. But I think maybe that's something you guys can comment on as well. But the fact that there's so much, to think about and to make more efficient and innovative in the space tells you a lot about how fertile the environment is. we're in an environment where a lot can grow here, and throwing a bunch of things at the at the market. One of them is going to stick, and is going to be the stronghold of the whole protocol, right? It's going to be the cornerstone of everything. For PowerCity, what do you think going to be the cornerstone? What's going to be the main thing people know PowerCity for? Is it going to be Pixel Park? Is it going to be? I feel like you're going to say it's the core, but what do you think is going to be PowerCity is going to be known for as a brand?
You're asking us to pick our favorite children here.
That's what I'm trying to say. Maybe you guys have two different. You guys have two different opinions on. So maybe we'll go with the Toshi first.
I love Pixel Park, and I love what we're doing there. But at the end of the day, I love that the core is going to be fed from all the everything that we're doing. And it wasn't like we didn't just throw a bunch of ideas up and see what's going to stick and hope one of these stick, and then it's going to. Right. We narrowed the projects that we have that surround the core, where we had a lot of them ideas, and they all rose to the top from the others, and as they rose to the top, and we were able to define, okay, this one is the best for this one is the best, and like I said, a lot of our guys, our team, they're cross chain, they're not maxis, they're not just in one thing. We're across different chains. We're using different protocols. We're experimenting. We're studying. We're figuring out what works. So, so it was a process of elimination. We had to figure out, of these projects that we picked to surround the core. There was other things that fell to the wayside because, what we selected stood out and made the most sense. So, and that's what we wanted. We wanted somewhere where, like, user experience, where it's like, if I'm going to get involved in this, like, it'd be nice if it had this or this. They could do this, because on other chains, we're involved in some similar protocols, but they're separate. They're not tied together. They're not.
They don't communicate.
Right. They don't communicate. So we wanted to really build that experience on Pulse Chain, because, this is a new blockchain, and we think that people will get excited by the same thing that we get excited about when you see this type of opportunity. And, the sacrifice set that we created, which, it's going to start on the 7th, it's going to be for PowerCity into the core. Right. So everything revolves around the core. And people can read up on that. If they go to PowerCity.io, you'll see our site. And at the top, there's a green banner that scrolls across. It says sacrificenow.io. If they click it, it'll take you right to our the sacrifice page, and you can read exactly how we put our sacrifice together, which is really like a giving tree, because we appreciate the community. We love that there's other projects being built. We're not fighting with them. We love that people are bringing adoption to the chain, and we love that the community members. We love that everybody, for everybody that's sacrificing into Pulse, PulseX, Liquid Loans, Internet Money. We want to say thank you to those individuals that sacrifice to Pulse Chain and these projects that are bringing the adoption before the chain goes live. And by doing that, we wanted to pay homage to the community by giving them extra bonus points for sacrificing to those projects, to bring the community together, because we really do believe in the adoption, and we appreciate it. We appreciate the community that has stepped up, before this thing is launched and participated.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Long vacation. Got a favorite child before we talk about the SAC phase?
My passion project is the energy nodes, but as far as adding the most value to Pulse Chain, I actually think it might be the transformer cross-chain swap. We know that there will be a Richard Hart built bridge going to Ethereum, right? And that's designed to wrap tokens from one place to another. But it still forces you to go through those crazy fees, right? And if you want to have, if you're trying to onboard your friends or your family, and maybe, they have, a lot of capital, maybe they don't, you want to retain as much of that value coming from fiat onto Pulse Chain as possible, right? Why not have cheaper, more cost-efficient ways to get there? And if we can make it easier, if we can make it, so that you retain more of your value coming onto chain, we think that can open the doors for even more people to want to participate, right? And the more people we can bring into the community to, even if they never use PowerCity again, if they're on chain, now they're generating transactions, which are then burning Pulse for fees, right? And that's why, even though there's 4 or 5 different NFT marketplaces planning to launch on Pulse chain, I'm bullish on all of them, because what's the number 1 or number 2 gas consumer on Ethereum? NFTs, right?
Mm-hmm.
OpenSea. So we want that impact. We want that on Pulse chain. We want to be able to see that transaction volume. That transaction volume from all the adoption is what's going to gather the, gain the attention of the rest of the crypto community and beyond. And bring in the big names to start building on chain, and the centralized exchanges to start listing Pulse, and so on and so forth, right? So if we can help bring in that value to get people going on the system, we're excited about that. So for example, you go to maybe an exchange that lists Avalanche, right? You can go directly from fiat to Avalanche, bring your Avalanche into your MetaMask, come to Transformer, and directly swap from Avalanche then to Pulse. So you don't have to worry about, swapping into a bridging token, bridging the token over, swapping out of the bridging token to something else. Did you have any Pulse already to cover gas on the target side or not? You don't have to worry about any of that, right? Yeah. The Transformer will combine all those into a single action that you would be able to do, it'll do everything behind the scenes, right? You'll pay 1 gas fee for all the different actions combined. And then you end up with the native coin on the other side. And now you're ready for pay for as many transactions as you want, and do whatever you want with that Pulse once you're on chain. Same thing in reverse order. Right. So hopefully that'll open the door, right? And, supporting both Avalanche, Phantom, Opera Network, the new BNB Smart Chain, that's it's called, BSC, Polygon, right? There's plenty of places where people are already doing DeFi that have easy on ramps, right? If we can allow people to get from there to Pulse even easier.
Yeah, these guys don't want to use Ethereum. Like they're not on Ethereum for a reason, right? So if we can say, hey, look, here's an easy way to go from Avalanche, Phantom to Pulse Chain, they'll come. Boom.
Definitely.
Ethereum's, even though there's a lot of there's a lot of users on Ethereum. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to hate on it. I hate the gas fees, and so does everybody else. And if you can get around without having to use it, I mean, when I use Ethereum now, it just feels slow and clunky and expensive. Yeah. It is. Every time I use it, I'm either like a stuck transaction or it's like super slow, and I'm like, and that's why it's getting stuck, because I'm so used to operating like faster, like think transactions happen faster on another chain, that I'll hit the button twice. I'm like, what did I? Oh man, let me send some 0 Ethereum to myself and fix this.
Right.
It's annoying, man.
Oh man, and I really appreciate that answer too, because while the bridge might not be the shiniest object here, what this really allows for is for the little guy to have a path to be able to get into Pulse in a reasonable manner. Because look, I've been talking to some people, onboarding some people, trying to learn more about Pulse Chain. And one of the biggest hurdles about getting people in is the gas fees. Like if you're a younger person, someone who doesn't have a fortune, spending $50, $100, $200 for transaction fees to get all set up, send a couple of transactions, that's a big deal for a lot of people. That's a good chunk of what might be for a lot of people's initial investment. But building out this bridge will allow the little guy to have a path to actually get into this ecosystem and be able to keep a bigger portion of their bag, which, especially if you get in early good projects, will actually be extremely significant later down the road. So for the little guy, it's very important.
Yeah, Brandon, every penny counts on a new chain, right? Yeah. So the small guy, if he can get $500 over, to Pulse Chain inexpensively, that money that he would have thrown, away in Ethereum gas fees would have been lost in those gains that could potentially be made on Pulse, right?
Right. There's millions and millions, even $1 saved over, over scale 2, 3, 4, or maybe 100 million people. That's a lot of money just being, crippling the market and slowing it down, So it's definitely something we can, can improve on.
And you do the math, 5-10 years down the road, that $50, $100 in transaction costs, how much that would have cost you in Pulse Chain, whatever it may be.
Start doing that math, you'll get angry.
Yeah, we're here talking shit about Western Union and taking 10% and 20% of your fees, right?
Well, there are some great charts in traditional finance that map out in fund managers that charge fees in their funds versus fund managers that don't. And when you see the cumulative performance long term, when you have these fees constantly chipping away at you, how you end up with like maybe this much performance, where if you had zero fees, you'd have that much performance, right? That's exactly what you're describing. And it's already felt in traditional markets today. Why bring that into crypto, right?
Yeah.
LV always has a really cool saying that I love, and it's death by 1,000 cuts. I love it.
That's true.
It's so true because you don't feel it, you don't see it right away, but it adds up. I know I've spent an ungodly amount of transaction fees over the last year or two. I don't even want to count. I'm going to cry, but yeah, for a lot of people, it's very significant. Now, look, guys, I want to talk about the sacrifice phase here, but I would be very remiss if I didn't ask this question because it's a personal thing I want to understand better, which is, so if Pulse Chain is the consensus layer, it's a consensus mechanism, right? It handles the security of decentralized applications being built on Pulse Chain. What is the use case of nodes as a service? Because for me, it seems like Pulse Chain is handling the consensus. So why is nodes as a service valuable? Help me better understand.
Sure. The consensus is the validators who are running processing the blocks and running to the blockchain, right? But all these other dApps we're using, you go to go.hex.com/stake, right? And you want to stake Hex. Hex needs to read from the blockchain. That website needs to read from the blockchain to show you what you have in your wallets, and to be able to do that transaction, read the past staking rates and the reward rates and everything else, right? So all of that is read from the blockchain, has got to come from somewhere, and either the developer who's supporting or running that dApp has to stand up their own node, or they pay someone else to do it for them. So the value is that it's an entire copy of the blockchain that you can access as a database, right? To display information, to process your contracts, right? So if your contract needs to read information from the blockchain to make decisions about what to do next, right? You're maybe getting that data from the node before you actually go to execute the transaction. Right. So the validator will execute the transaction, and they're compensated by the consensus network, which says 0.75% of all the transaction fees go to the validator. 0.25 is burned. Right. This is saying that, okay, for the nodes that are serving up all the data that for these dApps to utilize before that transaction is actually sent to the system, aren't compensated at all. Yet there's computing time and resources that are required to make these available so that all these dApps can run. Right. So if everyone's trying to hit the same server for the same data or at the same time, you have crappy response times. It'll take forever for a page to load. But if you have a decentralized network of lots of nodes that you can spread the workload over. Now, when you go to load, go.hex.com or whatnot, it will then give you faster data, better data, current data, right? Because the biggest issue is one. If your node is not current with the latest software, maybe you won't have the latest transactional data. What happens if you were to go to look at your wallet and you see yesterday's values, not today's? Right. And you go, so you're thinking you have more in there than you really do, right? That's a major critical issue. And that's due to where you're getting the data from to be able to report that to users on the web page and the interfaces. So the node is critical to support the network. And we believe that, the work that goes into supporting those nodes and making them available should have value, right? Where the validators are getting their value from the network, from the fees. We believe then we should create a system, very similar to Strong Block and others, to support the creation of nodes and maintenance of good, healthy nodes and selling that access to the developers that need it, right? Because they're going to go to somebody anyway. And today, if you go to Infura, you're going to pay a monthly rate for the capacity that you need for your service, right? Well, why pay a big, a company that's run or owned by Consensus and maybe, was it JP Morgan now, I think was the latest story that we just saw on the internet. But, all the drama that's going on with Consensus right now. Instead, why don't you come to a decentralized marketplace where either people are standing up their own nodes or they're using a node service to then sell that to developers and dApps to access, and take the middleman out, right?
How do they pay for the node? Is it through the smart contract, or is it through how does that happen?
I mean, we haven't mapped that out yet, but I know consensus, it's like a business expense. So, you would run it through your business, just like you would do any hosting services and things like that. If we can design energy nodes to accept crypto, that can open a lot of opportunities there. So, but that's still in development and design.
Right.
Awesome. I really appreciate that answer, because a lot of people take for granted these distinctions. But I'm sure anyone watching this, I'm sure most people watching this, took away a lot from that. I think I have a better understanding. I now have a better understanding of the nuances here of how everything runs here. Because I've been wondering that for a while. So I really appreciate you finally explaining that to me. You're very knowledgeable. I appreciate that. So that's awesome. So guys, look, we've been going on for a while here. I don't want to keep you guys forever. I want to respect everyone's time and sanity. So should we talk about the sacrifice phase here?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. So guys, you're doing a sacrifice phase. When is it launching?
Are you real quick? Are you able to pull up a website on?
I am. I got it pulled up right here.
That would be awesome.
Give me a second.
Sacrificenow.io. That'll take you to our.
See, this is causing us some internet resources. You guys got to pay for that as well. I will send you an invoice.
$5.
$5. Yeah. There it is. It's coming.
Yeah. Okay. So this is the website right here, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, that's
All
it.
right. Perfect. So what are we sacrificing for?
So we're sacrificing for the right to a competitive free market. If you are in the Pulse chain or Hex community these days, it's been a little dramatic recently. Maybe some differing opinions on, other projects and things running on Pulse chain. We strongly believe in a free market where you have options to choose from, and those options compete against each other, and they have to then stand up and do a good job to earn your respect and earn, your participation. Right? A free market is good for everybody and encourages, competition, better prices, better experiences, and innovation. Right? So we strongly believe in that right and the need for it on Pulse chain. And if anyone else were to agree with such a strong statement, they can make a political statement by throwing their crypto away and, standing with us to say, Pulse chain needs options, and it needs a varied community coming, from different backgrounds and different functions to add value in different ways, right? So, the website does kind of walk through, the political statement of what we're sacrificing for. It also talks about how, sacrifices would be recognized throughout the process. The process starts on March 7th, which is next Monday. And for each USD value of crypto that is sacrificed, the starting rate will be a 2-to-1 ratio for about 10 days, right? So you can see on the table there, 10 days, there'll be a 2.21 USD value that is sacrificed rate. And then after that period, every 2 days, it'll go down by 0.25 until it hits 1-to-1. At that point, then that 1-to-1 rate will continue locked in through whenever Pulse chain launches. Now, it's kind of open-ended because we don't know when Pulse chain will come, but we also know that, we want to give people time and opportunity to participate on their own ability and schedule, right? Yes, if you come in early, there's a better opportunity at a better rate, but we didn't believe in two things. We didn't want a volume bonus that would force people to feel like they had to pull together just to get a decent rate, right? So we're not doing a volume bonus. And we didn't want to do a 5% increase in price or cost, driving everyone to go in on day one, because there's been a lot of other launches and sacrifices going on, and people might need time to pull together and to be able to participate. And this flat rate, I think, gives people time to be able to do it on their schedule, to their ability. And it allows, without the volume bonuses, allows each sacrificer to stand, each wallet to stand on its own 2 feet, right? You're not having to pull together and chase down other people just to be able to do well, right? These points are designed to just reward everybody equally, based on when they, when they participate in the process. And as Toshi was saying before, the prior sacrifice bonus, for those wallets that participated in Pulse Chain, PulseX, Liquid Loans, and the upcoming internet money sacrifices, will be recognized for their efforts to help build this community and build Pulse Chain, and will receive additional bonuses in the PowerCity sacrifice. An interesting point to make is if those wallets participated in any of the Magic Carpet Ride, Magic Toshi Ride, or Legion VC pools, they will also be recognized for these bonuses. They will be eligible for these bonuses. So if you did participate in a pool, or that wallet participated by itself, both of those scenarios will be recognized for these bonuses. So the maximum combined bonus, if you participated in all 4 events, would be 55.55%. Little tip of the hat there to where everything kind of came from and started from here. So it can add up. You don't have to be in all 4 of them, right? They're each independent. So if you sacrifice for PulseX but not Pulse Chain, that's okay. You'll get, that wallet will get the bonus for that one sacrifice. If you sacrifice from multiple addresses for each of these, then the linking of the two for the bonuses is based on the wallet that is used for PowerCity sacrifice. So if you use a separate wallet for each of the other events, we wouldn't be able to link that together, right? So it's just the wallet address has to match so that it exists in the final published sacrifice sets for Pulse Chain, PulseX, Liquid Loans, and Internet Money.
Some people asked us, like, well, what if is it too late to sacrifice to, like, one of these if I haven't already, or I've only sacrificed in one and I didn't do the other? I mean, technically you could put $5. I mean, even Pulse Chain right now, if you put $5 from that wallet and sacrifices the Pulse Chain, and you already had, for example, Liquid Loans or PulseX, you can put $5 in Pulse, you sack the Pulse Chain still, and vice versa on any of these, and you'd still consider that would actually make you eligible for that bonus as well.
Interesting. Right. So you just throw a little bit of money, and that way you'd still get this bonus. Wow. Correct. Okay. Yeah. Man, guys, I love the way you guys are doing
no financial advice, right? So everyone can do what they want. The calculation is based on the presence of the wallet in the sacrifice set, is not looking at the amount that was sacrificed.
Right. Okay. Interesting. Now, you guys said you're starting next Monday here. What will you be accepting for the sacrifice phase?
So the list of the tokens will be posted later on this weekend, along with the exact time of start on Monday, right? So what time zone will be based on. But we will be accepting some of the top liquid coins that are and tokens that are listed on Ethereum, Avalanche, Phantom Opera Network, the BNB Smart Chain, formerly called Binance Smart Chain, and Polygon. So if you have any of the top coins or tokens on those networks, chances are it will be recognized as a sacrifice, and the exact list will be here soon.
Interesting. So you guys are essentially looking for liquid coins, basically. Mostly. Okay.
Yes.
Right. Okay, right on, guys. Look, man, I'm definitely excited. Look, I want to shout out Bufo on the beat. This guy is very active within the Hex and Pulse Chain community, and it was him who first tipped us off to you guys. So shout out to Bufo because thankfully we reached out, got you guys on, explained what this is all about, and man, I'm super excited.
Yeah, thanks, Bufo. Appreciate you, man. I saw him in earlier in the chat.
He's everywhere, man. He's everywhere. I love it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Thank you, man. There is one more thing. Hey, before we forget,
please,
if you scroll back down, Brandon, to the bottom, there's a little Easter egg there too. So there are milestones. No, go up a little bit. See where it shows in here, community bonuses. So not only are we doing the bonuses if you sacrificed into other protocols listed, there's this also as well.
Oh, so wow. What is this about?
Community bonuses on top of that.
Oh, interesting. So for every milestone you guys hit, you guys will be giving out essentially like these lotteries.
Yep.
Wow. Okay.
So let's community pull together to reach those, to reach goals, and in return, we will do that, and we'll do those lotteries live too. Make it fun, So we'll just
do them here on the channel, man.
That's awesome. Yeah, guys, do them here on the channel, guys. If you guys have any updates moving forward, open door to come on the channel because this is super interesting. I'm extremely curious to see how you guys develop and how things grow and what gets adopted. I mean, I'll be personally definitely participating myself. So looking forward to it. Again, not as financial advice, but man, I'm excited.
Awesome.
Yeah. Okay, guys.
Definitely. So, guys, if you guys got anything else to maybe bring to people's attention when it comes to the sacrifice phase, this is your chance. If there's anything you want to talk about, it's all yours, man.
Really, best thing to do if you want to connect with us, easy way, Telegram, t.me/PowerCityIO. Jump in there. You'll see the links to go everywhere. You can get to our Discord, our Twitter. Everything's there. Also, our Discord, I know some people like Telegram, some people like Discord. The Discord, you can do a lot more things in there. As you guys know, I know you guys are Discord users as well.
Definitely.
It feeds a lot of things, and we're able to add some other stuff in there too. So, but jump in at least the Telegram, t.me/PowerCityIO. Ask questions. We're going to be doing an AMA in like 20 minutes, about 18 minutes. So we're just off to the next one, but please join up, and love to have everybody in there asking questions, and we appreciate you guys for having me.
I have a quick question. You don't really need to answer it. Okay. People are going crazy in the comments over this one question that I really didn't want to even ask, but just because, if you don't want to, you could skip it over. But someone just asked in terms of the what tokens, do they have to be worth $1 for sacrifice to break even? It's a sacrifice, in my opinion, so we can't really answer none of these questions. But I mean,
with no expectations, that's not really something that can be answered. So
there we go.
Sacrifices, making a political statement, and if you agree in the political statement, then maybe someone might recognize that and want to bring others along on the journey that will celebrate that political statement.
That's your answer. Thank you so much.
There we go. Guys, appreciate your time going on this channel. Long vacation, Toshi, if you guys have any final words, we can
like Toshi was saying real quick, we've been doing daily AMAs. So not only in Telegram, we're trying to do them in Twitter Spaces as well. So we want to make the team as accessible as possible. If you have questions around what's going on, what we're building, who we are, please ask questions. And I do appreciate Firecracker. Do ask the tough questions. We might not always be able to give you the answer you're looking for, but we recognize the need for folks to get to know us and to learn more about who we are. And if you're not familiar with who we are in the community within the the Pulse Chain Telegram throughout the past year, that's fine. Come and get to know us, and we're happy to help you kind of build trust in what PowerCity is all about.
Definitely. Look, man, I'll be very honest. This is one of the I would say the most educational live streams, definitely in the top we ever had on the channel. Appreciate all the knowledge you guys shared. And definitely a lot. I'm definitely going to be looking at joining those EMAs on the Twitter sessions. I think there's going to be a lot of nice discussions happening there, because I think you guys are touching upon everything, man, and I love that. Every NFTs, core, Pixel Park, bridging. You guys trying to take over crypto, man. It's pretty clear.
I love it.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for joining us. And yeah, man, Brendan, what are we saying here, man?
Guys, look, very educational. Really appreciate the thoughtful responses. I personally learned a lot. I'm sure people watching learned a lot as well. Really appreciate your guys' time. Everyone, like and subscribe. Hit that bell icon to notify new uploads. We'll leave links for everything down in the description below for this PowerCity website, sacrifice page, all that kind of stuff. Look, guys, we said a lot. I think we might be ready to wrap up here. Again, big thanks to you guys for coming on the channel. And until next time, folks, everyone's good here.
Thank you guys so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Take care.
Take care, everyone.